Karun Chandhok. I'm not a fan. He's another liar, like Brundle, like Crofty. Somebody paid to tell lies to viewers. I also don't like the fact that he sounds like he's straining, pushing something out when he's trying to accentuate something. I'm going to take you through his analysis that he did in Abu Dhabi 2021, reviewing what had taken place over the season. But this was done prior to the race. Now, always look at some of the comments that you see here because it shows the level of intellect that we're dealing with people. Now, second comment down, Karun's punditry spot on as always. Why this guy isn't a steward stroke race director, I have no idea. Right. Now, it's not spot on, and I'll tell you why it's not spot on. It validates Max Verstappen, okay? It tentatively hints at something rather than calls it out for being totally wrong, okay? That's not spot on. So I'm going to talk you through. I'm going to show you the clips. It saves me having to go into each of the Grand Prix and show these clips. And I'm going to talk you through what he should be saying at these moments in time. So I'm going to maximise this to full screen. And let's have a listen. Well, we'll have a watch of the footage he's going to show you. And we'll listen to what Karun says about it. And we'll talk you through what's the actual situation going on. Let's have a go.
Well, I've picked 6 different clips, Nat, because I was thinking about something Damon said, actually, in Saudi, which was Max had an uncompromising style of racing wheel to wheel.
So that's what they call Max. It's uncompromising. It's aggressive. It's on the limit, right? No, it's dangerous. Let's call it for what it is. It's dangerous. It's dirty.
And I think there's an interesting point here, because if you go back, and I'm going to pick first five occasions where Max has basically thrown it down the inside. And
thrown it. Okay, so that's the truth. That's what Verstappen does. He throws it. It's not talented wheel-to-wheel racing. It's no craft. He literally throws it, and if you don't move out the way, you get hit. That's not motorsport. That's not motor racing. It is absolutely unacceptable. He fucking throws it there, and if you don't get out of the way of it, there's going to be a massive collision at high speed. Now, what kind of an example is that to set to people that aspire to become a motor racing driver? It is disgusting, and they need to call that out, right? But they don't, because they're not doing it well enough. Here we go.
And if you just watch, this is going back to Imola. So as they head down to the apex of Tabarot, he has this style where he goes in, watch his hands, understeer, 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 and he goes all the way out.
He has this style where he runs the other driver off the road. If you're overtaking somebody, you have to leave them track room. Where's track room for Lewis Hamilton? I've watched this sport for somewhere in the region of 35 years. I've watched racers go wheel to wheel, and they go round corners side by side. That's how it works. This guy drives people off the track, and they just validate it. And Brundle will say things, yeah, Max had the racing line there, or he'll say, oh, well, Max stayed on the track. Might well have done. Was there room for the other driver? Absolutely not. Therefore, it's not acceptable. Don't validate it. But that's what you're doing.
And that effectively leaves the car on the outside, in all of these cases, Lewis, with no room to go.
Effectively, yes, that's right, Karun.
Same in Barcelona, heading down the start-finish straight as we head down towards...
So, effectively, is that okay? No, it isn't. Call it out.
That first apex. Again, just watch Max here. He chucks it in down the inside. He's behind Lewis.
Chucks it in. Okay, so let's see where Max ends up. Okay, let's see where Lewis would have gone. Okay, look, the line that Lewis was taking. Let's see where Max ends up. And what would have happened if Lewis had not taken evasive action? They were on a collision course. Watch.
Chucks it in down the inside, but with so much more speed. Lewis has to steer out of the way.
No room.
At that point, again, Max understeers out to that white line. Monza, this is before they hit each other and crash. This is...
They hit each other, did they, Karun? They hit each other? Rightio.
At the chicane, Lewis again on the outside, goes in. Max, watch his hands here. Look at the amount of steering lock at this point. He's gone in so quickly that it's understeering all the way out to that.
Where's the room? That's not side by side. And all season, Sky are validating this type of driving, okay, making all these strap-on fans think that this type of driving is acceptable in motorsport. Fuck yeah! Come on, Max! We love fucking Max! No, it's bullshit, and you're not allowed to drive like this. It's dangerous, and you're not allowed to do it. Max Verstappen is a shit driver. He's fast. He'd be a good time trialist. But driving wheel to wheel, he can't do it. Unless his car is 30 miles an hour faster than something else in the straight line, he cannot drive, keeping his car without trying to T-bone another car. Because that's the only way he knows how to overtake. You're either 30 miles an hour faster than them down the straight, in which case you're already past them and 5 or 6 cars lengths ahead of them by the time you get into the corner, or he tries to T-bone you and you either move out the way or crash. That's the only way that Max Verstappen knows how to drive. That's not a good driver.
A white line, he can't slow it down enough to give Lewis room, so Lewis has to go across that runoff area again.
Okay, he can't slow it down enough. Hey, that means you're not good enough to be in Formula One. That means you're a dangerous driver. And had you have gone through all the formulas to get to Formula One in the same way that every other driver has to, you'd have actually got found out and you'd have had to learn that lesson. But no, golden boy Max gets fast-tracked into Formula One. Gets to drive in Formula One, but even before he even gets a driving licence to drive on the roads. And instead, he thinks he's invincible and can just throw his car at other cars and they move out the way for him. Not acceptable.
And in all of these occasions, I think Lewis somewhat compromises by bailing out, by going.
Lewis compromises? How about Lewis knows he's going to get taken out unless he moves? So what he uses is his brain, his maturity, his ability to see that happening real time at stupid speed. And he's still got the awareness to see what's going on, see it happen, right? And move out the way of it. To stay in the race, stay on the track, and keep collecting the points. That's a level of genius. That's a level of pragmatism. That's a level of experience you get when you are an 8-time world champion. Don't try and say he compromises. He's having to deal with this. And what it should be happening, he should be getting the protection from the race stewards. Calling that kind of conduct out and saying, hey, that sort of thing is illegal in F1 and you'll get penalised for it.
Going over the white line by going across the runoff area here. Brazil, turn 4. Again, Hamilton gets a good run on him as they head down the hill. Slow it down. Get to the apex. Hamilton in front, clearly. But Max, watch his hands here. So he's again...
Forget his hands. Look at the track. Okay? If you see this at full speed, this one's disgusting. And you all remember this one.
Carrying a huge amount of speed. Goes a little bit wide of the apex. And there, Hamilton has no choice.
A little bit
but
wide
to
at the
bail out of it.
apex.
Now, I'll just go back a frame because you'll watch Max's hands on the left-hand side. There, he winds the lock on, but he's got so much more speed, he just runs.
Right, he's got so much more speed. Oh, Max has got so much more speed. How's it that at the point in time where you should be braking to make it round a corner, you either stay on the gas or don't hit the brakes hard enough to carry that speed so you end up on the other side of the track, completely shutting the other driver off, in this case, driving him off the track. Don't try and make out that, oh, having so much more speed is something good here. That's driving dangerously. That's throwing it into a corner where you're not going to even make the corner and you're not leaving room on track for the other driver to make it around that corner. That is not acceptable. It's never been acceptable. But in 2021, you validated it. And you validated it all season. Because it was a season-long narrative that you wanted to promote young Maxwell Verstappen as being this incredible challenge to the 7-time world champion at that stage. It's a narrative.
off the road, and Hamilton has nowhere to go. He can't cut across because obviously Max is right.
Funny that, because he's just been driven off the track. See, when Michael Schumacher tried to drive a driver off the track, he got disqualified for an entire season. This is the first time that Max tried to drive Lewis all the way off the track, right? We've got another one coming up.
Right there. And finally, let's go to Saudi last weekend.
Now, if you watch this at full speed, it was absolutely disgusting. This is the slowed down version.
First of all, from the helicopter, Lewis clearly in front at that point. He's clearly in front, but again, Verstappen wide of the apex.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at the direction that Verstappen's car goes now. Would have taken the nose of Hamilton's car off.
This is the apex, and he just carries the speed, has that.
Where's Lewis going to go? You shouldn't have to do an emergency stop because the car that's thrown itself up the inside of you just carries on in a straight line ahead of the path that you should be going in. You're committed to turning for a corner. You can't have a car just throw itself there, and unless you take evasive action, there'll be a huge crash. You cannot do that. That is not motor racing. Never has been, never will be. And well, I say never will be. That's what they turn it into. And if that's what they turn it into, people are going to get seriously injured. But Liberty Media don't care, because the kids like the crashes.
That moment, rears lock up, goes across there. Lewis has no choice but to follow him. So that's 5 examples of basically a similar instance.
5.
Now, if we look at Silverstone, on this occasion, Hamilton was the one on the inside. And he...
So, was this a thrown up the inside? No. They're about side by side here. And when you're going on the inside, you're allowed to be side by side. You've got the right to the corner, being side by side. This is the braking zone for the corner. Hamilton is there. This is the braking zone for that corner. Hamilton is virtually side by side with him. He's got the right to the inside line of that corner. Look to the left-hand side of Hamilton. See how much space is there. Does Hamilton leave enough space on that track? Because there's been 5 times where Verstappen hasn't left Hamilton that room on the track. Right? 5 times. Karun has just shown us where Max Verstappen has not left Lewis Hamilton any room on track for Lewis to stay on track. Right? Look at this one. Is the room to the left of Lewis Hamilton for Max Verstappen's car? And I'll tell you the answer. Yes, there is. But what does Max Verstappen do? Max Verstappen tries to cut Lewis Hamilton off. He tries to drive across Lewis Hamilton's nose to actually make Lewis Hamilton have to pretty much do an emergency stop. That's the only way he's going to avoid a collision. The pure physics are, when you're at the inside line to taking a corner like that, you're naturally going to run slightly wider. That is motor racing. All drivers know that. However, providing you leave at least a car width on the outside for the other car to make it around that corner with you, then that is perfectly legal. Max Verstappen chops across the nose and pays the consequence. This crash was entirely Verstappen's fault. Entirely Verstappen's fault. And yet they blame Hamilton, or they tentatively go, oh, well, Max, if he had this chance again, maybe he would do something differently. It was Verstappen's fault.
He's the one who chucked it up there. But Verstappen...
Again, at the time where he should have been braking, because Lewis was braking, Verstappen either stays on the gas or doesn't brake to chuck it there. And now he's chopping across his nose. Right? And again, this angle doesn't do the best version of it, because you'll see the change of direction. Verstappen could have easily stayed wide, but what he's done is chopping across where Hamilton is already on the inside and got the right to that corner.
Watch his hands at this point. He is turned in, and while of course Lewis missed the apex, and
so, what's the room? What's the room? There you go.
Still
Still loads of room for that car to be there.
Penalty.
And Hamilton's made it around the corner.
He was predominantly a blame because he chucked it up the inside and went in too quick.
If you just said that Hamilton chucked it up the inside, he didn't chuck it up the inside. Okay, he had the right to the inside line at that corner because he'd put his car there by being fast up the straight, slipstreaming up the straight, getting himself alongside, giving him the right to have the inside line to that corner, and providing he leaves enough room on the outside for Verstappen to make it around that bend as well, everything is perfectly fine. Look at the room to the left of Lewis Hamilton's car. Is there a car width there? Yes, there is. But Verstappen didn't stay wide, as he should do as a racer. He's tried to chop across the nose of Hamilton, and he's paid the consequence. And you blame Hamilton. You vilify Hamilton. That's what he did all season.
I do wonder whether Max would think about the fact that if he was more compromising in the way that Lewis was in those 5 examples and just gave Lewis a bit more space, yes, he would have lost the place. Yes, he would have finished second and scored 18 points instead of ending up on the wall. But then he would have arrived here in Abu Dhabi with an 18-point lead. And I think that's an important point to make, is that they've got a very different style of racing this season.
A very different style of racing. Right, call it for what it is. Filthy. Dirty. Totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Not okay.
In terms of their wheel-to-wheel battles. So, yeah, there you go. Back to you guys.
Thanks for that, Karun. Right, now, we keep getting the same old BS about lap 1 of Abu Dhabi. And, oh yeah, well, Lewis should have been penalised for Abu Dhabi. Let's have a look at this, because actually for 20 minutes after this took place, you hear the commentaries team whining on about it, validating Verstappen, vilifying Lewis. Watch him go around this corner and watch how much room Verstappen leaves on that track for Lewis Hamilton.
For the second consecutive weekend, the Red Bull did not get off the line very well.
There's 3 abreast going into the turn.
So look, Lewis Hamilton is making his way around that. He started where Perez is now, right? That is the point where you're going to kind of break. You're slowing yourself down, and then you're picking your line around the corner. That's what Hamilton will have done. Okay, so Verstappen kind of cuts at a straight line from that point towards this part of the corner, the apex of the corner. Okay, now providing he takes a tight line around there, Hamilton has to stay on the outside of him. Fine. Look at where Verstappen ends up.
9 hairpin. Oh, and there, man.
How does Lewis Hamilton make it around that corner? Because once again, Verstappen has sent it. Rather than go around the corner, rather than come here and go around the corner like that, right? If you can follow the cursor, rather than do that, Verstappen sends it and comes across here. Okay? Comes across here. So the driver on the outside, which was Lewis Hamilton, where's he got to go? And they're trying to validate that as a valid overtaking manoeuvre in Formula 1, in motor racing. It absolutely isn't. And we're at a situation where it's the final race of the season. It's going to decide the World Championship. Lewis Hamilton knows he's up against this prick that is going to actually just throw his car at him. And he knows that if he gets taken out, then that prick will become the world champion. Right? Because they've not picked him up on it all season. He's had to deal with that all season. So he's going to take evasive action. He's got his eyes in the mirrors. He knows that this guy is going to send it at him, throw it at his car, and if he T-bones him, too bad. Right? So Hamilton is aware of that, and so he does take evasive action, but why should he lose a position as a result of somebody doing that? And the answer is, you shouldn't. That kind of manoeuvre is outlawed, should have been picked out, should have been penalised, but what it is, it's validated. And they vilify Hamilton for saying, oh, he should be the one that's giving the place back here. He cut the corner. Verstappen stayed on track. That is not okay. That is not the description. That's not the criteria for making a valid overtaking manoeuvre in Formula 1. Right. The purpose that I've done this video, and I apologise for some of the language I've used, but it does really annoy me, is that we knew going into Abu Dhabi what Lewis Hamilton had been up against all season, and yet still he clawed his way back into the fight. And against all of this, this season-long narrative of trying to do whatever it took to ensure that Verstappen was given this chance of becoming the new champion, usurping Lewis Hamilton, stopping him from getting the 8th title, stopping him from getting the 5th consecutive title, becoming this new face of the sport, creating this drama, right? They did everything they could, and they did it all season. They didn't penalise him sufficiently for all the different things that he did, and there was far more than what was actually on this video. And then when we get to this race, if you actually play this race back and listen to what is said, the number of things that they try and vilify Lewis Hamilton over this and validate Verstappen over this is absolutely ridiculous. And that's all part of the narrative. I've got another video planned where I'm going to pick up on this. So this is the purpose of doing this. I'm going to obviously this channel focuses on the corruption and the fact those last 5 laps were clearly corrupt, as demonstrated with the other videos where it shows the TV footage construct was corrupt. The commentary was pure lies, lying about the rules prior to the massive rule break. Okay, that is all evidenced on the other videos, as is the fact the stewards were completely lying. The FIA broke their own rules in the way they dealt with everything. The entire thing was a systematic fix, but it was a season-long narrative, okay? And those at Sky Sports are paid to validate it. It's dangerous. It's disgusting. What this is doing to the world is it's education. People are getting their education about a sport from what they're seeing and what they're hearing, what they're being told about it. And the way that Sky Sports are doing it is extremely damaging. And I pointed this out back in January 2022. I'll produce another video to show you. Those that have looked at my Facebook page, if you go right to the beginning of my Facebook page, you'll see where this all started for me. But this is damaging. It really is damaging. So we've got to get back into focus here. All of the reasons why we must change what took place in 2021. They robbed a man of his rightful achievement. Lewis Hamilton is an 8-time world champion. Okay, the man that goes down in history as holding that record of having the most on his own number of world titles. Okay, he achieved that. He needs to be recognised as that. How they then cheated him out of it, and they did so as a season-long campaign, and to validate this piece of shit that is now this new fake face champion of the sport. And let's face it, that's the guy is a turd. He's a turd, right? He's got bad character. He's fast, but like I say, he's a time trialist. He can't wheel-to-wheel race. He's a ridiculously poor role model. And for kids growing up these days, thinking that they can drive a car like that is extremely dangerous. And it is, if people die in motorsport through replicating manoeuvres like that and going up against guys who aren't as good as Hamilton and can't see it coming and can't evade it, right? Sky Sports, the FIA, have got blood on their hands because it's filthy. Right, I'm going to call this one a day. Thanks for listening, and hopefully it won't be so long till I get a chance to do the next one. Cheers.